close to be right now. Nobody owes you a thing. Nobody told you how to live. count the days and nights since I survived. This lonely abyss is the place I've learned to hide. But the memories conflict with the story I keep in my mind. Then reality comes over me like darkness to blind. I can't live without your love, and I can't die. Still I'm standing in the rain when daylight dies. I'm falling for tomorrow, for centuries I have stayed. I've tried to believe, but my eyes give me away. It's like you opened up a door to a world I've never known. A funeral for a friend. Then I awake and I come back to life.
Sure, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello there. Hi, Murphic.
Hey.
How you doing? So I've got Twitch set to half my screen, but I can't configure it to see chat like I usually can. I've tried theater mode, I exited out of theater mode. Full screen, of course, doesn't work. We tried settings. No, settings is quality stuff. It always used to appear before. Bless you. If I blow up the, wait a minute, that's not working either.
If I look, I'm looking at Twitch, and the stream chat is showing up to one side of my window there.
Yeah, usually does for me.
Are you in theater for full screen mode?
Well, no. I'm not in full screen. I'm not in theater. Oh, oh yeah, okay. On the very right-hand part of the video screen, there was like a vertical line with a left arrow. I clicked on that, and that it's like opens up a side panel thing.
Okay.
Got it.
Oh yeah, that's a collapse arrow.
Yeah, and then when I go back into half screen, I don't see the chat again, so... Well, I'll just have to muddle through somehow. My game is still updating. You see that guy standing in the middle of the picture?
Mm-hmm.
You should superimpose yourself over him.
That wouldn't work since I've got my camera set to only show me from the chest up.
Yeah, I know. we'd have to see you standing.
Yeah. And actually, the space I've got is actually kind of restricted because of the backdrop.
Oh, is it? Yeah. You've got the blue screen or green screen or whatever.
Green screen in this case.
Yeah. I know what you could do is wear green pants or something. Anyway, I'm just being silly. Maybe you could you like copy paste your big mug of coffee in the guy's hand? Alright, let's see if the game is finally updating still.
Actually, something that I could do that would work is would be to edit the photo, a copy of that photo, and have the Cavern Tour logo on its back.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. Good idea. Whenever I reduce the size of my internet window, the chat goes away, and there's no arrow to expand it, so something is weird.
Yeah. Seek moved his avatar in and put it in AFK mode, so I don't know why he hasn't joined Skype yet.
Oh, okay. Like you said last month, he wanders in like a cat.
Comes and goes.
Yeah, he comes and goes like a cat.
Oh, in Skype or stream chat, they were. The question was asked, but could I Photoshop my avatar over it? The thing is that I couldn't match the shadows.
Oh, okay.
Yep. It is Denis New Year. Let's see. What was the year again? 96, 70 something. This is Denis year 9679.
Why are there logs all over my porch? Well, I must have kicked them down there.
Frobos, this Twitch stream is set up that way because of the streaming software. I'm going through a service called Restream to get it to go to more than one location at once, and that requires me to have a certain resolution. Okay, Zeke has joined us.
Testing 1 2. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi,
Loud and
Zeke.
clear.
It's been a while since I've been able to get to the tour.
Yes, you wandered in late last month.
Yeah.
Welcome.
So which one are we on this week again? I can't even remember.
Okay, we only got part way into the material I planned to cover, partly because Arte gave a more extensive lecture on Denis numbers than I had thought he was going to. So we're going to be finishing up last month's tour, and then if we have any time left over, I may go into something. I have two lectures that aren't on the schedule. One is about Denis money, and the other one's about Denis religion. The money one is fairly short, so there's a possibility I may cover that.
So we're still in the Bevan Rio? Or are we
No. We're actually on the waterfront of Ae'gura Island.
Okay. Yeah, just trying to get my bearings of where we're at. Okay.
Robaz asked why Twitch is in 4:3 ratio. Maybe
Yeah, I
that's
answered
why.
that one.
Is that why I can't get the chat?
No, it just affects how wide it is inside of the the box there. You'll notice that there's a lot of space on either side of the picture.
Yes.
And that's because it's not in widescreen mode. As I mentioned to him, it's because I use a service called Restream in order to send the tours to both Twitch and to YouTube at the same time. And that requires me to be in that resolution.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to remember to unmute the Twitch stream when you're doing those recordings and stuff.
So do I, otherwise I talk over the recordings.
I just don't hear them because I haven't muted the whole time, so I don't have a double echo.
Yeah, that's a drawback of being part of the broadcast. Say, it's like I have everything, all the sounding of the game, completely turned off as well.
Yeah. All you need is the inside of the loop to go through it.
I've been able to save up a little bit of money recently, so I've actually been redoing my computer setup. When I look over to the side to look at the controls for the broadcast software, that's where I'm looking right now.
Okay.
That used to be a 32-inch TV, I think, which was sitting on a fairly low table. And I just recently replaced that with a 50-inch television set, which is at about eye height. So now when I look over that way, you notice I'm not looking down anymore.
Oh, yeah. I got a 27-inch, 1440p.
Yeah. I currently am looking at 4 different monitors.
Oh, wow.
I have the Twitch stream over to my right, which is what I'm looking at the moment.
That's our left.
And then when I look at the straight ahead, I'm looking at my main computer monitor, which I'm also planning on replacing at some point here. And then right below that is a notebook computer that has my notes on it.
Okay. There's something I've noticed in the Cavern, and I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like every update that's happened in Mold, I don't know, the lighting seems to change a little bit.
Well, when they do the updates, they often have unintended consequences.
No, it's more like a good thing. It's like everything's becoming darker. Not as bright. And I can't tell if it's just my monitor doing that, or if it's just the updates doing that.
Actually, I have no idea on that regard, but at the very least, you should be able to compensate for that. In the game settings, if you're, I think it's when you're doing it full screen, you can go into the video settings and
Yeah, I'm in Windows.
actually, hang on just a minute. I want to try and take a quick look. Let's see, graphics settings. Actually, I'm not seeing that anymore. Frobos was saying that he notices a lag when changing locations. That makes him sometimes think he crashed. And actually, that's not something I notice very much myself, but I've got a video card that's okay. with my video card, I don't really notice any kind of lag anymore.
Okay. I know.
Let's see. Darlene left a message on this Facebook today under my announcement of the tour, saying that she didn't get very much sleep last night, so is probably going to wind up missing today since she expects that she'll be in bed.
Aw.
I got a game controller for my PC. The only reason is one of my games did not act like it was designed for PC. It was designed for console or something. And the controls were so wonky. It was like an old game. I'm kind of curious on if I could configure it to work with the because it works with the game, even though it's not designed for it. I was able to configure it. I'm wondering how well it would work in early.
I don't know if this was ever designed to use a controller for joystick.
Well, the other one wasn't, and I was able to map out the arrow keys to make it work. Got sparklies in here.
The fireworks are for the new year.
Okay. Oh, that's the Denny New Year?
Yeah. This is, yesterday was the Denis New Year. Denis Year 9679, I believe. Oh, Zeke, are you seeing Proboss's comment in the game chat?
Since the last client update, is that what you're talking about?
No. Game. the game window. Proboz says you might try a program called Joy to Key.
Well, let's see. I don't know where this comment is in the Twitch chat or on the game chat.
Deathcathlon, the music that I play in the background is a service called Pretzel Rocks. And the music is all original stuff from independent artists. That's YouTube, Twitch safe at the least, and YouTube safe if you take that option. I just wound up buying a subscription to it.
That makes me want a pretzel.
I don't like pretzels. I have never cared for them.
I like them because it's salty taste.
Well, unless there's the soft ones with cheese on them.
Well,
oh wow,
that's
I don't like hard
pretzel.
pretzels. I don't like hard pretzels. Yeah, the soft ones are good.
Yeah, I'm used to the regular ones with the salt on there, just a lightly salted, something like that.
Anyway, it's about time for the announcements.
Okay.
Go ahead, Zeke.
All right. I want to thank you all for coming to the next Cavern tour. So, in regards, we need, if you have not friended Microbot, you need to friend Microbot. Susan, you can type the key number, get his key number, because we will be using him to go to these different ages to explore outside of areas that explorers are not supposed to go to. And in your sound settings, the little wrench button, if you need to turn down some of your audio settings, like your sound effects, ambient, and music, so that you can hear Larry on Twitch, make sure this your game is windowed and you're logged into Twitch, because Larry will be sharing some info off on Twitch, and we'll be moving back and forth between the two. Second, we will be exploring ages. It is recommended that you completed all the puzzles and stuff in the game, but we will try our best to be spoiler free. But some of the ages that we go to may not be spoiler free, so just be aware of that. Also, do not climb up on any ladders or just don't climb up any ladders or anything, because that can get you stuck in stuff. And Microbot will provide all the warping that we go to. So please stick with the group. If you do get disconnected, you can always link back to Microbot, and I think it's follow Larry. or to Larry, and he will bring you
Find Larry.
Find Larry, and he'll bring you back to the group. I don't know. Let's see. And I hope you enjoy the tour. Oh, and there will be sections where you can ask questions. So be sure to provide the questions to me or Susan if you want, so that we can do it at a appropriate time that Larry wants to ask those questions. And is there anything else I'm missing, Susan?
No, it's just we're going to be continuing our tour of the island of Ae'gura from last month.
Okay. And let's see if he still is. Okay, good enough. And I believe we are just about ready to go. So if everyone can chat with Murabot and hey, my mind's going blank this morning.
Type link to my Murabot, and
link
he will link you. Yep, and he will link you in.
Oh, and for the newcomers, your tour guide is Larry, and your co-hosts are Zeke and Susan. And Murfak is here in Skype with us. He's very quiet, but he owns and operates Murabot, which we use to provide special effects. What, Murfak?
My robot crashed.
Yeah,
oh no,
I did too.
Murabot crashed. Okay.
Yeah, it was something about linking to his version of Ae'gura that caused it. So I'm signing back into the game.
Yeah, not warp. It's the link is link, but the bot crashed. So
yep. How do you know the difference between a robot link and a linking book to link?
Because you asked the bot to link you instead of clicking on the book.
Yeah.
Let's see.
It also makes me wonder, is a bot like uses magic in a sense?
So just as I introduced Murfak, the bot crashes. I wonder if the bot got jealous.
Yeah. At least it doesn't have a mind of its own yet.
I don't. Maybe Murfak, did you put some artificial intelligence in there?
No. Why?
Murabot wants to take over the Cavern. Yes.
Considering he's the last one standing of all the bots that were ever made, he pretty much has.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah. Yeah, because we had Stone and Direbot at one point too.
Yeah.
No, there were actually more like 4 or 5 others floating around at various times.
And then there was not Microbot, Mirrorbot was the other one.
No, Murabot is the one that we're using now. Magic Bot, there was at least 4 of those.
Yeah, I know there was one like Miro, the bot that Mirfak uses, and then there was another one similar to it. It had a similar name to it, and I always got those two confused.
No, that would have been Magic Bot or Mimi Bot. Excuse me.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the bot to come back online so that I can link to it.
For everyone that's come in, I think we will link first and see if it's okay to link this time.
Mm-hmm. And then, let's see, there was Magic Bot, Magic Treasure Bot.
Oh yeah, I never
Mimi,
got to.
Yeah, Mimi Bot was the one, and those three were all owned by Mr. Magic.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
Obot.
Oh,
Orange-haired
wow.
boy bot.
Yes, right. I was going to mention that one.
Okay.
Did
Obot was
Lyrositor have a bot too?
Yes,
Lyra Cider. Lyra Bot,
Lyra
yeah.
Bot.
Lyrositor?
Lyra Cider.
Okay.
No, it's Lyrositor. Just kidding. He's the one who created the skydiving program.
Really?
A program,
That-
yeah. Skydiving predated him by quite a ways. I think it's from the original game days, because people just got a kick out of jumping off of models at various times to see what they look like from underneath.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's actually an old video of YouTube of them skydiving, and I can't find it again. And it's like a 12 to 13-year-old video.
There's
Annabella
the bot again.
wrote the CD line that. Okay.
Let's see. Let me try.
I remember
linking here.
Annabelle.
Yep.
Okay, Merit Bot is online. You can PM link to him.
However, I
please.
just tried that.
Wait.
Yeah.
Ah, zut.
Yeah, it isn't ready yet.
So hold on, folks.
Okay. You know, if we didn't have at least one technical glitch during each tour, something would be seriously wrong.
I know, that would be too perfect, and we'll be wondering, where's the glitches?
Well, that applies to the whole production. Say, every time I think I look around and think, am I actually really set up and ready to go? I get worried because I know darn well that there's going to be something I missed.
Yeah. Where are you in your Relto?
Because I can't link to the bot yet.
Oh.
I am back.
There we go.
Have you shown us your huge coffee mug today?
Several times.
Okay.
You would have seen it. I'm about a little over halfway through it at this point.
It's working now. Okay.
Yeah. I just
Everyone,
there.
The link is working, so you can link over to Mirrobot. Is it
Mirrobot?
Yeah.
Mirrobot.
Well, it must be Mirror for Murphac.
The thing is that we don't.
And this is, and we can say, my robot.
His robot.
Yes, it's my robot.
You know, I never know if is it Murphac or Mirfac. How do you pronounce your name?
I say Mirfac.
Mirfac.
Okay. Mirfac.
Which is Capreme backwards, or Capreme is Murphac backwards. Okay. Oh, I'm the only one here. Well, maybe I should join you guys. I always stay behind in the hood to make sure to herd cats.
Rojethi just sent me a message saying that there's a new Memorial Island age at Minkata Alpha, which is a testing shard. And no, I have not seen that because I rarely log into Minkata.
Yeah, same here. Sometimes I like to log into the Gen shard, though.
Minkata Alpha is the main, the testing shard for brand new stuff that's still under development. To give you an example, Doobs is doing his own version of the Great Shaft, and that's where he has it for testing right now. Okay. In any case, I think everyone should be here.
Mm-hmm.
So, last week we were talking about the ferry terminal. And there's by the way, there's a number of things that you normally cannot see up on the roof underneath the canopy. And there's various rooms. Let's see if I can show you any of them. Okay, looking at the stream window, I'm gonna cycle through some pictures. Let's see, arch. So, let's see, that's the wreck of the harbor office / lighthouse. That's the soccer ball that's supposed to be on the dock. The main entrance to the harbor, the lens of the lighthouse. Okay. I don't have these arranged.
That's Larry's stash of booze.
Okay. Here's a view of the top of the ferry terminal. And then I missed the thing I was actually looking for. So let's go back up here. As usual, when I go looking for something, I can't find it. Isn't that the way it always is? Something else that, though, that I want to point out. Okay, yeah. It figures as soon as I go looking for a picture, it's nowhere to be found. But if we go, oops, game, there you are. If you go over to the ferry terminal, something that I don't know if any of you noticed before, but you have the harbor office over at the north end, and then there's a dividing wall between the docks and the esplanade. But if you look at the other end of the wall, you may notice that there is actually another building over here which doesn't have any doors. And it makes me wonder if perhaps there was a way to get to it that was underground, or perhaps that you got into it through the Tokata 2. You can get a better look at it if you go through the door into the docks.
That's better.
Yeah. There we go. We got some light. Okay, so if I head over here. Oh, here we go. So yeah, you'll notice that it's right at the end of the wall, and you'll see that there's a windowless building, and nobody's ever had any sort of an explanation as to what it's there for. But it does seem to be part of the ferry terminal complex, and not part of Tokata 2, which is the building alongside the Great Stairs. Okay. Anyway, let's go back out to the harbor side again. And the next thing I'm going to talk about is Kareth's Arch. The Arch of Kareth, which is more commonly called Kareth's Arch, was originally called the Arch of Kings. The massive structure is at a natural opening into the harbor and is made of huge blocks of stone that are fitted so well you can't see the joints. The arch was designed by Guildmaster Chorus in Denis year 558, which was early in the reign of King Jacrin. Its appearance was based on memories of a similar monument on Garternay. Construction was begun in Denis year 600 and completed in 625. According to prophecy, the arch was to welcome the great king when he appeared, in the hopes that they would be the ones who received him, or who would be him, I should say. All of the Denis kings after Jacrin sailed under it as part of their coronation ceremony. According to rumor, Alcindar was born underneath the arch as his mother fled from the Pinto invasion, and so, when he passed under it again in his return to Denis, he was thought to be the great king of prophecy. This was later disputed by his spiritual advisor after his death, since during his reign he had the Pinto plague created, and that would go on to kill Denis for generations, as well as ending the Pinto War by genocide. On his deathbed, King Rakuth saw his son Kareth sailing through the arch on a lizard-shaped boat, as he was, and at the time Kareth had been in exile and was returning. According to legend, he felt Yavo moving in him, and decided to declare that Kareth would be the next king. Kareth, after a short reign, decided to abdicate and end the line of the monarchy. He then oversaw the change of government to a council system. The council and guilds renamed the Arch of Kings as the Arch of Kurith to honor him as the final king of Denis. According to Denis history, somewhere along the edge of the harbor was a building called the Steward's House, a location where the heir to the throne of Denis would be crowned after he journeyed by boat under the arch. It's possible that the house is on the bottom of the harbor now due to the earthquakes that severely damaged the cavern during the fall of Denis. The only decoration on the arch are carved inscriptions at the top of it, which have the same phrase as is found on the ferry terminal. The inscriptions can be found on both sides of the arch. Okay. Now, we want to go over to the stalagmite ridge and into the small chamber there.
So, oh, no.
I just crashed.
Yep.
Yes.
Everyone did, I think.
Uh-oh.
16.
It's going to be one of...
Someone is using a bad SDL.
Someone's using a what?
A bad SDL file for the city.
Oh.
Awesome. Apparently someone is misusing the bot, huh?
Uh-oh.
Who can maybe
It's one of those doors. Welcome. That's interesting.
Okay. In any case, while we're waiting for everything to get back into order, did we have any questions about Kareth's Arch?
I didn't see any questions about that, but Shiloh had a question even before the tour began that she thought of from last month's tour.
Okay, what was that?
She didn't say, but when she gets in, hopefully she can type that out.
Okay. In that case, I will
He
be
or
back
she.
in a minute. Hang on to that thought.
Hey, Susan, I was thinking about something.
Yes.
Have you ever thought about what it'd be like to have a tour in the Ginshard?
I don't belong to the Ginshard, so I really don't have any opinion about it.
It's the Guild of Riders shard, which is it is far ahead of what Mulgay is right now. Let's just say that. Everything's so shiny. It's kind of got that shine to it. If
It's
you know
shiny.
What I'm talking.
Unfortunately,
Like a cat,
drinking
you
lots
like
of coffee
shiny
has
stuff.
consequences.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, Shiloh is typing a question. Well, she's PMing me a question.
Okay.
And I'm trying to link to Mirabot, but it's not working. Okay. Besides boats, linking, and walking, what other forms of transport were in Dunny? is a huge place, and the Nexus was only added just before the fall.
That's correct. Basically, inside, you would. The way the Nexus works was something that the Denis did on their own with private books before the Nexus was created. In other words, if they wanted to get from one place to another inside the cavern without having to travel the distance, what they might do is have, if they could afford it, because remember, this is a privilege of the upper classes and the wealthy, they might have a private age that had linking books to various places of interest to them inside the cavern. And so what they would do, of course, is just link to their private age and then link back to where they wanted to inside the cavern. But as for okay, so we do have a problem. Okay, anyway, so yes, the main methods for the common man to get around is either on his own 2 feet or else by boat. And then, but if you were wealthy, you could shortcut it by having your own private little version of the Nexus. The Denis had transportation systems. In other words, they used electromagnetic levitation vehicles. Say, for instance, of course, the one that we know about is the Harvester in the Age of Arcana, and that's magnetic levitation. However, no one has yet to find any trace of such a system inside of the cavern. And then they also had wheeled and tracked vehicles as well. But again, inside of the cavern itself, we don't see any signs of those. The only ones that we know about off the top of our heads are the worm and the scarab maintenance vehicles from the Great Shaft. The worm was a tracked vehicle and the scarab was wheeled. So they don't seem to have had an awful lot of public transportation except by boat. Anyway, let me see if I can get to the city now. Or Ae'gura.
Yeah, there's a group of us here on the dock.
Okay. Okay. So, we were trying to get to the cave inside of the ridge when we crashed. And this chamber apparently is a natural one rather than having been carved out, or at least only the doors were excavated. The reason we can tell that this was natural is because of the fact that it has stalagmites and stalactites inside of it. The room was mainly just a passageway between the esplanade and the curved walkway outside, and does have security gates on both sides. The room itself has a railed walkway leading directly from one gate to the other. However, this room is remarkable in that it is inside of a naturally hollow section of a stalagmite, and it contains stalagmites and stalactites of its own. So, how such a thing happened, I couldn't tell you. Now, one interesting thing that there is in here, which is unusual and you won't see pretty much anywhere else, is if you look over here by the entrance, there's a pedestal here with a slot in the top of it. This is where one of the Denis fire marble lamps, such as are on the railing outside, would have been set. But this one, for some reason, is missing. And this is the only place where we ever see a space where a lamp should have been and does not exist. Now, going over to the, this way. Okay, we can't walk through, so, Murphek, if we can go out on the curved walkway, please.
You can go through the door.
Okay, I tried it a moment ago and couldn't. Okay, so there's always been questions as to what the purpose of this stretch of walkway was. And the answer to that is that it probably would have led to a marina at one point. If I go back to my pictures. Here we go. If you look at the stream window, I just put up a photograph or a picture, which is a sketch of how Ae'gura was intended to look at one time. And you'll notice that at this end of the harbor, there was actually supposed to be a private marina, a set of docks for boats of belonging to residents, as opposed to the ferry terminal, which is how most people would have gotten to and from the island.
Are you able to use your mouse to hover over this image and point out where we are?
Let me know if you can see see it, but I don't think. Okay, no. The answer to that is I cannot, because I'm showing this through my broadcast software, and I cannot directly interact with it.
Well, obviously, Karas Arch is that bluefing rectangle on the left.
That is correct.
And so I see this big white thing that looks kind of like a flower.
Now, something that you will notice, first off...
There we go, I see your mouse now.
Yeah,
oh,
I see it
okay.
too.
In that case...
Thank you.
No, yeah. If this here is the island, in other words, it's this part, the Great Zero is on this, is here atop a very tall stalagmite. Or
Yes.
stalactite, yeah. And then what you're seeing is concept art, so they didn't actually make the island the way it's seen here. this would have been the Esplanade right here, with the ferry terminal over here. Then we had Tokata 2 and Tokata 1 up here. This was supposed to be Tokata Alley, which would have led to a bridge, and then on the stalagmite ridge surrounding the harbor, there was supposed to be a whole district which was never made. So this is the area where the alley breaks off right here. And then this is laid out differently than you would see in the city today. For instance, the Guild Hall was supposed to be much lower down and actually right in the middle of what we call the palace courtyard. And you'll see that the great stairs are actually wider and much shorter than they actually turned out to be. In any case, so you have the ferry terminal over here, and then outside in this area where we are now, there would have been a marina for private boats. They did not actually make that, but hang on just a second. Let me show you something else. If we go to here, and see if I can find... here we go. They made a clay model of Ae'gura at one point. So we have the ferry terminal down here. Now you'll notice that in this model, they didn't include the ring around the harbor. Although they do have the main entrance to the harbor down here. By the way, something that this model does do is give us a good idea. Yeah, so we have anyway, the marina would have been in this area here. But something that I always enjoy about this model is that it shows where the various residential districts are. This is the district of Carathan, which was named after King Careth, and was the middle class and district on the island. Then over here, we have Isha. I forget what the other name was, but these three districts were the upper class residential districts on the island, up above the Guild Hall. And it's over on this side, which is Jatari, and that was the district where the Watcher's Pub is located. Okay. In any case, so that's probably what this walkway was intended to do. It was if they had ever made the marina, this walkway probably would have given you access to it. Okay. Now, let's see. Okay. So I guess at this point we'll go ahead and move on. We are now going to head up to the Kahlo pub.
Hey, Larry, real quick, please.
Yes. Okay.
This design on the blue lamp, the blue is very pretty. It looks like a bunch of lumps. Like, does that represent hills or?
No, actually, this is a scale pattern, and I'm not quite sure what it's meant to represent. But you'll find this pattern in a number of places in the residential neighborhoods. But it's actually more like scales or
And thank you.
that
And
are
if you could
overlapped.
please,
Mm-hmm.
and if you could please remind us what this hand thing represents
It's
on
a
the yellow lamp.
traditional design called the hand tree. What, if anything, it's supposed to reference could be, I couldn't tell you, but it's all over the place.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So obviously it has nothing to do with the path of the shell.
No. There's a number of common designs used in Denis architecture. Okay. If you need to catch up, you can just PM Find Larry to the bot. Okay. The Kahlo Pub is a suite of rooms set deep inside the Tokata 2 building complex. It was very obviously a tavern, but other than that, little if anything is known about it, or at least anything that's certain. The name it carries was coined because someone theorized that the pub could be a location where Kamikenta racing in the age of Kahlo might have been played on several viewers that are found around the pub. However, the truth is that no one has ever uncovered proof to support that idea. For one thing, the viewers seem to be the same type found in the residential neighborhoods, and which only shows slideshows of still pictures. In AD 2003, when explorers were first permitted into the cavern, the pub was off limits and had large canvas tarp blocking the entrance, as well as being behind barricades. On December 17th of 2003, a group of explorers, led by Douglas Sharper, gathered on the landing outside the pub corridor to protest the Denis' recent kidnapping of Phil Henderson and the slow progress of opening up new areas of Ae'gura Island. The protest culminated in Sharper tearing down the barriers that were blocking the entrance to the corridor. The pub remained open following the protest, but the DRC retaliated by revoking Sharper's position as the head of restoration of the Great Tree Pub. At the end of the corridor leading to the pub, there is a computerized message board near the spot where there was once a crevice, and which was later filled in and can no longer be distinguished. The crevice was where Willow Ingberg and Rosette Taylor fell into a room and were trapped, and where both subsequently died. This memorial board scrolls their names as a remembrance of the incident. The incident happened in May of 2007 during the Third Restoration. A seismic event on May 19th caused cracks in the pub corridor. Michael Ingberg's daughter, Willow, along with her friend, Rosette Taylor, called in a false report of a safety hazard near the Ae'gura library and snuck into the corridor when the DRC members rushed over to investigate the claim. They were poking around a major crack in the corridor wall, which is in the corner that I'm facing, behind the wreaths, when a second earthquake struck, and the two fell into a lower room. A shower of rubble blocked the way in, which is what you can see us having recreated here. Rosette was killed instantly in the resulting collapse, while Willow was injured. She was later joined by a barrow that was linked in by several companions. For several days, the DRC scrambled to excavate their way to her, while throngs of onlookers and well-wishers gathered nearby. On May 22nd, the DRC finally breached the chamber, only to find that Rosette had been, Wheelie had been murdered by the barrow that was in there with her. The memorial imager was placed in the passageway just outside the pub on June 26th, along with a number of flower wreaths, which we've also replaced for you. However, that's not all there is to it. Since then, Cyan has added the names of any explorer who has passed away and whose name has been submitted for inclusion on the board. The board is now a memorial for anyone who was once a part of the Cavern community and who has been lost to us. The memorial is still in active service, and names can be submitted for inclusion as long as they have some sort of proof, such as a link to an obituary in an online newspaper. Around August 26th, an explorer of 2015, an explorer named Taylor created pages in the Open Ura Wiki to provide more information about the memorial. The Explorer's Memorial page has background information about the memorial itself, and the In Memoriam page that links from it has information about each of the people listed on the memorial. Since then, an explorer named Doobs has created an age called Vile Tsavan, which means immortal soul in Dini, which also has all of the information about the names listed on the memorial. And Ro, I believe you said that somebody else is creating another memorial's age. In any case, Richard A. Watson wrote a Denis epitaph for one of the explorers, a girl or a woman named Janet Burris, who was nicknamed Pepsi because she was very fond of it. It reads, Treprad Kotsaven, Treprad Edern, Yavo Pelelin Yeret Vileon, Shora, Pepsi. And translated, that means, in the rock she lived, in the rock she rests. May Yavo receive her soul. Farewell, Pepsi. in the meantime, Ville Savan, which can be found among the Explorer Restored Ages, whose books are located in Chiso-Pernev, which in turn is located in a niche in the Great Tree Pub. Okay. And now, if we go into the pub itself, thanks to Murphak, a lot of the fallen rocks have been cleared away so you can see more of the pub than you would normally be able to. To give you an example, the side chamber over here, which if you look carefully, whoops. Okay, looks like we can't actually get into it. There's an invisible wall. But if you look directly across from where I'm standing, you can see the outline of a sealed up doorway. And that apparently, while we aren't positive as to what it is, it does open into a space below the stairs of Tokata Alley, and may have been an underground passage leading to Tokata 1, which was where the DRC set up their headquarters after they moved out of their neighborhood, Corel. Not so secret, Lindor. The doorway is actually fairly easy to see if you look carefully, but it does seem to have been sealed up at some point. The room over at the other, opposite the bar, also has a large twin door in it. And this would have led to another section of the Tokata building complex, which is labeled building number 1 on a map that I have. Okay. Anyway, so the pub itself is located a few yards below the level of Tokata Alley and has 3 entrances. The main entrances is the one that explorers use today, that opens up into the main part of Tokata 2. The corridor that we used to get here was possibly accessed by the door that's set in the center of the Great Stairs. The spot shown, excuse me, if you were to imagine the corridor continuing under the Great Stairs instead of being collapsed as it is now, it's about at the right level to go under the landing there, at which point stairs might have led up to the door that's in the middle of the landing. The main room of the pub, of course, has the bar several tables and benches, and a large floor viewer. By the way, you'll notice the pattern on the dais below the viewer is the same tile pattern used in the central plaza and linking book rooms of the residential neighborhoods, and also the floor of the Nexus Age. At some point, I'll probably talk in greater detail about the Tokita 2 building. But it's actually quite large and complex, and there are a number of different sections to it.
Larry.
Yes.
What the floor design here in the bar where we're kind of standing here? Could this been used as a sort of how like we would have basements or something as a way down, and that was sealed up in the door at the opposite end?
We are fairly we're about halfway down the building. Something I forgot to point out while we were down on the docks is that Tokita 2 is mostly underground, like many Denis buildings. It's almost like an iceberg in that what's above ground is only a small part of the total size of the building. Tokita 2, as a structure, looks like it goes down almost to the level of the Denis Lake. And Shiloh O'Brien notes that the Denis built three-dimensionally. That's not quite correct, but the thing is that they had very little space where they could build things on the surface of the ground. So the vast majority of their construction had to be into the rock in order to have actually enough room to actually get anything done.
Okay. And is that a door behind the bar to the right?
Yes, there is a door over there, and that's probably into a storeroom. In one of the shards, I believe, the open cave, they actually have a version of this that somebody made as a personal age, or a fan age, I should say. And that room was actually turned into, or the space behind that door was turned into living quarters. But here, since there's a fair amount of space on that side, because if you remember, you came quite a distance from the Great Stairs to where we are now. In fact, when we go back out in the corridor, oops. Oh, he's got us blocked in at the moment. Let me see.
Does anyone else have any questions while we're waiting?
Well, I noticed, this was obviously all carved out of rock. I mean, I see like the floor.
Actually,
intricate.
No, it isn't.
No? Is this?
This is but you are correct in that it is a form of rock. The Denis used a kind of construction technique where they would put rock that they excavated into a machine which it would condense it and change its molecular structure a bit.
Really?
Right. So they and they built by using this condensed rock, which was called nara. And so a lot of Denis buildings were, you would make a certain things a certain size, but yeah, the Denis buildings were as much poured as they were constructed.
Interesting. Now, Nara stone, we were introduced to that in Myst. I forget which one, 3, 4. Isn't that what they made the chess pieces out of? And
That's correct.
Myst 4, I think. And wasn't that the hardest material?
It was
the hardest stone.
It was
of
the
all?
hardest building material that the Denis had ever made.
Yeah.
Okay. Murph
Interesting.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. So if we go back out to the corridor here, you'll notice that we are... Okay, it's stuck again. There we go, I'm out. Now you'll notice that there is another set of doors across from the short corridor, or I should say the doorway into the pub, which is a 2-room structure. And then there's a door opposite it. If we go down a little ways, you'll see that there is another 2 sets of doors along this corridor. Right here and then behind me. So there's a fair amount of this building just along this corridor that we cannot access. And then although one of these doors probably led into a space that that had a set of stairs that led up out of the building and up to the roof. It was a set of stairs which went up the side of the building and is not visible from the outside. When we go into Tokata 2 in a little bit more detail, we'll actually be setting up a way to go up and down those steps. So you'll be able to climb them and see for yourself. But I don't think we're doing we're not doing that the rest of the building today. So that will have to wait for another time when we have it on the schedule.
Yeah, speaking of which, we have 55 minutes left. So we're about halfway through.
We are heading up to the museum right now, which is the last official thing on the tour. By the way, they had another type of artificial stone called Daratheni, which was strong but lightweight, and was used to make the armor that you find that you see the maintainer suits made out of.
As we run up these stairs, that's the great tree in the middle, like the pattern, and then also this is going along the Great Zero Meridian, right?
That is correct.
Like
the
through
great stairs,
the huge stump, and go ahead.
Yeah, that center divider down the Great Stairs marks the line of the Great Zero, Zero Meridian. Let's see. Before I start talking about the museum, let's see about questions. What kind of booze did the Denis drink?
That's a good question.
Yeah, but the thing is that it's not exactly covered. we the chances are they had some, of course, that they had some form of beer and they had and wine, but we don't know if they had anything distilled. The subject basically never came up in the game.
And for the museum, isn't there a door? Wasn't there supposed to be a door? And I think
Yeah,
it's really underground.
the door actually comes up from below to cover the entrance. So it's a door that slides vertically, but it goes down instead of up like you might think it would.
The same is true for Kadish's pyramid. Wait, non sequitur.
There were also functioning doors on the down into the library when you go down the steps. Those would open up to the sides. Okay, did I miss any questions in the game chat?
I didn't see any.
Okay, in that case, now this the last part of the tour for today, or the official part, is the museum. And we are certain that the Denis called this building the museum, although we don't know what that Denis word is. The reference for it is a pamphlet that was found and which is in DRC possession. Despite the name, the museum only had a few exhibits that were actually inside the building. Instead, it was a common linking book library that took visitors to observation pods, all of which are on the same world. We know that there are at least 25 such books, but the Denis only released 4 of them for explorer use. The museum is a building with a rooftop that is similar to that of Tokata 2, what we call the Tokata rooftop. Inside, there are 2 floors, the lower of which is blocked off. There are wall and railing decorations that are the same raid hand designs that you find inside the Ae'gura library. That commonality may indicate that both buildings serve the same purpose of holding public linking books with a common theme. And let's see, if I go here and look at my pictures again, museum. Here we go. Oh, don't have it here. Here we go. If you look at the stream for a moment, I have a picture up that shows what the door to the museum looks like when it's closed.
And did Cyan open it up because it was causing lag or something?
There were issues with it when there were multiple explorers. Basically, it's the same reason why they tried out a number of things, but then disabled them again. Okay, let's go ahead and put that away. Along the walls surrounding the central opening that contains a lamp sculpture, there are 10 linking book pedestals, 5 on each side. On the right side, as you enter the building, 4 of the pedestals hold linking books to observation pods. Yeah, over there. Those pods are located on a world that is called Riziksev by explorers. That name just means the pod age, using Dini words. The age holds at least 25 pods, since that number is marked on the map, and Doreno has a number plate bearing the number 25 in the bottom and top of the pod. The lower floor of the museum is almost identical to the upper floor, except that it does not have an exit on the building entrance side, since the stairs from the entrance to the upper level are there. It does have a door on the opposite end, identical to the door at the south end of the upper level, which is over here. Oops. This looks messier than usual. Ura was asking about the other pods. Actually, I'll be getting into more detail about it when we talk about the pod age. But there were actually, it was intended by Cyan that there would be many more than 25 pods, and that they would, and basically the linking books would be rotated. Or else perhaps they might even add more levels. But the idea was that, behind the pod age, was that they would start out with the 4 we have. They did have plans to expand into the rest of the 25, and if everything had worked out and the game had gone on, they would have added even more. So because they get the part of the pod age that we can see on the map is only about 1/6 of the total size of the planet. Okay, yeah, there's that door. The light helps to see it. Okay. Murphak, can you take us down to the bottom floor now?
Sorry?
Hold on.
He has to set up it's not solid down there, so he's got to set up a platform for it.
I want to go downstairs, okay?
Yes.
Okay. Where is it?
I presume that there's a staircase on the other side of that the door that goes down and links the levels. The lower level has no linking book stands, but presumably would have had 5 on each side, just like the upper floor, meaning that there could have been 20 books on display at any given time. it has been theorized that Rzixev might be the ring planet around which a moon called Todelmer orbits. Okay. And here we are at the bottom. The reason why there is that possibility is because there is a pod in orbit in the ring system around the planet. The Denis found a pamphlet that would have been handed out to visitors during Denis times who were going to the Negalon pod. And here's a translation of that pamphlet. The Negalon Introduction Pamphlet. Welcome to Negalon, home of the infamous Tarpon Shawl and Bezel Pumi. Negalon was one of the first features added to our museum in 8797 at the request of Lord Gerald. At the time, the maintainers and museum staff felt that Negalon had been researched thoroughly enough to approve the age for a museum pod that would allow our visitors to experience the age for themselves. You will notice that all of our pods, including Negalon's, have a few special features. Fortunately, solar power enables our pods to function without outside power sources. However, though our pods will gain power throughout with minimal energy usage, heavy usage will also drain the energy units fairly quickly. So be careful not to use up a pod's energy before nightfall, or you may miss out on some sights. Before you visit Negalon, we'd like to take a minute to get you acquainted with the creatures that live there. Please remember that while we have placed our pods in optimum position, you are visiting a natural habitat and we have no control of when and where you will see our friends, or if you will see anything at all. Our pods do have sound and scent emitters that will attract Negalon's inhabitants, although, again, these are real animals and there are no guarantees. Remember, too, that all reactions to what you do in Negalon will not always be immediately evident. Good luck. And then the creature notes. Rather than give away all of the secrets of Negalon, we want you to find creatures on your own. The following notes are meant to provide you an introduction to the natural habitat of Negalon. We will say that if you can't find Kiri, things aren't going well. The large swarms usually fill the air, especially in more open spaces. Kiri are one of the sole providers of nutrients to the Irwins. If you see a swarm of Kiris, look out, an Irwin might be nearby. Gipoli are another of Negalon's smaller creatures, although they are a much more colorful variety than the Kiri. Gipoli can often be seen gliding through the air and are a favorite treat for Ripa. Nerim are slow-moving and beautiful native inhabitants of Negalon. During mating seasons, especially at night, you have a good chance of being witness to some beautiful displays by female Nerim. Ask a nearby museum guide for more information on Nerim mating seasons. Uchaparas, often seen dangling under trees, are actually young tarpon shawls. If you can follow the tarpon shawl life cycle, we will give you a small hint. You will need to pay close attention to Gotse. Pummies hunt in packs and often eat the babies of Negalon's other inhabitants. Pummies will prey on sick, small or weak adults that are much larger than them. Pummies like to jump from tree to tree, so you'll have to be quick. See if you can find what likes to eat pummies. We'll give you a hint. They eat very slowly and live high in the trees. Another of Negilon's inhabitants are fun-living creatures that like to eat nerums, gepli, and other plants and animals. We'll let you know that, however, they are timid creatures, and we often find them far away from the pod. If you happen to see a Reaper, consider yourself lucky. Gatsei are pretty easy to spot, especially when they're resting, so we'll let you see if you can find them without any hints. If you see one, notice its stripes. No two patterns are the same. Though Irwin are technically birds, they can't fly. However, with all of the Curie around, they don't need to. Irwin are the only of Negilon's inhabitants that mate for life and are often seen in pairs. If you get a chance to see a Panadoi, you will know why it has the name it does. That's all we'll tell you. The tarpon shawl is Negilon's most famous creature, and if you get a chance to see one drop down on an unsuspecting animal below it, you'll know why. You'll have to look carefully on the high branches. They are sometimes hard to see, but they're worth the effort. As for any other information, you'll have to find it yourself. Good luck, and we hope you enjoy Negilon. Please ask a museum guide if you have any questions or problems. By the way, when we cover the pod age, we will be going in greater detail over the animals, including showing you pictures of them. And now, back up to the upper level again, please. Mirfak.
Go ahead. And by the way, Arte could not make it today because he's traveling.
Yeah.
But hopefully he'll be back next month. And our next month's tour will be May 27th.
Okay.
Saturday, May 27th at 11 a.m. And we'll be continuing Ae'gura Island next month, I assume. Larry, or do you plan to finish today?
No, it's 1:23, so we actually we're just going to be covering the paintings upstairs, and then we'll be done with the official part of this tour.
Oh, great!
So
okay.
We'll see how much time we have left as to whether or not I go into extra content.
Susan, Ae'gura Island could be a 3 to 4 part series.
Oh yeah, actually.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, last year it was 3, or the last season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
season it was 3.
When I did them, tried to fit them in 2, and that still wasn't enough time to cover everything.
Well, now that Larry shows stuff on Twitch, there's so much more content than there was in prior years.
Oh yeah.
Seasons.
Okay. Anyway, Mirfak, back upstairs, please, so we can see the paintings.
So as we stand in the Dakota courtyard and face the tent, Dakota 2 is the building on the big building on behind the tent, or do I have that backwards?
Tokata 1 is the building behind the tents, and then Tokata 2 is the one that runs alongside the Great Stairs.
And Tokata 2 is the one that has Sharper Spy Room in it, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Which we will be visiting, and you'll be able to see that clearly.
Awesome.
Okay.
And I guess in the game files, it's Dakota.
That was actually a mistake by the guys who were doing the textures. they misunderstood. The official name is Takota, which is a Dene phrase that basically means Tokota, excuse me, which basically means place of locked doors. Because
Oh,
when the Dene gave it that name because when they got here, that's what they ran into. Everything was locked.
Mhm. There's a question here by Yul, who says, "How long would it take the builders to make missing content?"
That I have no idea, really.
Where you want to go?
We are where we need to be now.
Okay.
So, let's see. This is the destroyed painting. And over here... Okay, I'm going to be starting over at this painting. There were once 4 paintings here on the walls of the upper level. 3 of them survive. This painting I'm standing in front of at the moment is a painting of King Kurth, the last king of Dene. After ascending to the throne, he made many changes which eventually culminated in the creation of a city council system that was composed of members of the Dene guilds, Dene Grand Masters. He turned over the rule of Dene to the council and voluntarily abdicated his throne in Dene year 6977, which was 679 years before Christ, or the Christian era, rather. Kurth was considered to be the most important king of Dene history, and the Arch of Kings was renamed to honor him. One of the funny things, actually, there isn't an official Dene crown that I know about, Shiloh. Mm-hmm. One of the funny things, though, is that he was considered an extremely important king, perhaps the most important, despite the fact that he didn't actually accomplish an awful lot while he was on the throne, except to convince them to change their form of government. And even that wasn't 100% successful. After he abdicated and died, the Dene eventually fell into a civil war that was called the Myst War. And that was because even though he managed to convince most of Dene to not elect kings or have kings anymore, there were a lot of people remaining who disagreed with that, so much so that they did fight over it, although it was less bloody than most of them. The Myst, and Shiloh says the Myst War, I wish we knew more about that. Actually, there was a lecture given by a different group. The Deep City something or other, if I remember correctly. And they covered the Myst War in pretty good detail. I believe that should be available on the YouTube channel of the Guild of Archivists. The next person we're going to cover, which is a little out of order, is over around here and by the table that the DRC set up. This is King Alcindar. Alcindar was the man who was called the Great King, since he seemed to fit the Denis prophecy that a great king would come to Ae'gura on a boat under the Arch of Kings. It was said that when his mother fled the Pinto invasion sparked by the judges of Yavo, he was born as she passed under the arch while escaping. He later returned to confront the Pinto and passed under the arch for a second time, and that seemed to fulfill the prophecies, so people began to call him the Great King. On Alcindar's orders, the Denis healers created a plague that was intended to be used against Pinto. However, while Pinto was devastated as planned, the plague turned out to be too virulent and spread to other ages and began to wipe out other Autotanti or outsiders. Alcindar announced his involvement in the creation of the plague, gathered all of the books linking to infected ages, and then locked himself and the books in the temple of the Great King, while leaving the throne to a man named Soloth. 6 months later, Soloth was officially crowned king. The temple of the Great King was later renamed the Tomb of the Great King to honor Alcindar's self-sacrifice. However, the move was controversial, and much later strife was born because of it. We'll be discussing the Pinto War and King Alcindar in much greater details in a later tour when we cover the Age of Pinto. And the last painting, which is over here in this corner, is Queen Lalin. Lalin was the wife of King Hemelin and was instrumental in finally ending the Pinto Plague. She met Hemelin when he fell ill from the plague, and she was assigned as his nurse to take care of him. He would later credit their blossoming love for his survival. 2 years later, in 2257, that would have been about 5400 before the Christian era, Lalin's research led to the location of lost ages of the Healers Guild. This in turn led to the discovery of the Book of Berini, which held a cure for the plague. The Guild of Healers declared the plague eradicated on the same day that Hemelin and Lalin were married. The story of their love and marriage inspired generations of Denis artists, musicians, poets, authors, and playwrights. As a matter of fact, the date that they were married later would go on to become the favorite date for Denis weddings, with every Denis bride wanting to have her wedding on that day, pretty much, in the hopes that the love that she and her husband-to-be would have would be as great as that of Lalin and Hemelin. And that is the official end of the tour today. But because we have 25 minutes left, I'm going to cover another subject as well as an extra. So let me dig up my notes.
Yeah, I noticed in the paintings, it looks like there was a design above the painting. Looks like there was going to be another painting above there. And
that I couldn't say.
And then the second painting that we went to, where the DRC notes are,
Mm-hmm.
It looks like the king is holding a scepter similar to what's in the middle of the room here.
Yes. I'll be going into greater detail later, but that painting was done by a famous Denis artist who also did a great deal of the art inside of the great temple to Yavo, which was located in the Denis city. I forget his name off the top, but when I talk about Denis religion at a later date, we'll be mentioning him.
Okay.
In the meantime, I need...
I'm going to have to leave around 1:45. Does anyone happen to know if, because Arte is traveling, there's no story night today?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. And as far as the King's stories go, they're all published in the books in the Hall of Kings, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
But like I said, as far as King Alcindar is concerned, we're going to be going into a lot more detail about him and his actions when we talk about Pinto. Okay, let's see. I keep clicking on the wrong thing. Okay, here we go. Here we go. There we go. That's what I want. So, as a civilization, Denis needed a practical way to conduct transactions. On the surface, moneyless societies only exist when they are so small that barter is practical. Whenever society gets above a certain size, barter as a means of trade becomes cumbersome. That's because the amount of goods that need to be traded often gets to be too large to be easily carried. When that happens, the concept of money is usually invented in some form or other and gets borrowed, or it gets borrowed from another society that already has it. Eventually, even haggling over price becomes less common because in complex economies, one needs to have a concrete idea of how much of your product is, or how much your product is worth when compared to somebody else's. We don't know very much about Denis money, but there are several references. Let's cover some of them now. For example, in the King Corinne notebook, one of the first references can be found and says, Corinne continued to live in the city although his family stayed in a secret private age. The city grew more and more dangerous as the judges began to destroy more of the city and kill more of its citizens. Corinne poured money into the city guard as well as the small military of the day, although it seemed too little too late. Another reference to money can be found in King Nagin's notebook. It has a sentence that specifically mentions the word money. Quote, in year 2500, Nagin proposed that the construction of a new council chamber for the guilds. Somewhat surprising was that he suggested it should be built over the tomb of the great king. The proposal was met with little opposition, and construction began 2 years later. In Denis 504, the tomb of the great king was barely visible, a tremendous symbol of what Denis had become. Later it was discovered that within the council chamber was a massive vault, protected by puzzles of a sort. The tomb had always been known for its patterns, some of which were claimed to have been prophetic messages. Nagin apparently became enamored with the patterns and spread them throughout the unseen portions of the chamber, as well as the seen. Though the public knew very little of the vault at the time of construction, years later it was found that to contain a tremendous amount of royal wealth, something Negan often publicly encouraged. Of course, most were not able to save the amounts Negan did, but still, the idea of saving one's money for future generations was strongly encouraged by him. Negan's notebook mentions that the D'ni paid to attend music concerts. In 2408 DE, the 33-year-old musician Ae'gura began selling out concert halls, marking the beginning of yet another career of one of the great D'ni artists. His music also dealt much with the great king, many times ridiculing him. Negan praised his people for being able to express their true feelings in such wonderful displays of art. When Yisha recorded her speech about Kadish Talessa, she also mentioned Negan. The bones of Guildmaster Kadish speak louder than words. His bones are the bones of D'ni. He clung to the teachings of good King Negan, who required good citizens to cling to their treasure. Indeed, we can see examples of what may be D'ni coins in Kadish's vault. There are heaps of gold coins everywhere. One thing that must be pointed out was how Yisha chose to spin her words. She made it sound like Negan ordered D'ni citizens to be miserly, which he did not. Firstly, his words on the subject weren't orders, and secondly, she completely left out the purpose for which he said one should save one's wealth. The DRC notebook about Negan implies that he believed saving one's money and valuables as an inheritance for one's descendants was a virtue. In a quote from the notebook mentioned above, it was, "Something Negan often publicly encouraged. Of course, most were not able to save the amounts Negan did, but still the idea of saving one's money for future generations was strongly encouraged by him." Repeating what I had said before. Money is mentioned again in the King Kedri notebook, which says, "So the king called his advisors and ordered them to add to the great temple so that Yavo might be pleased and so all of D'ni could visit their god. In their god in his house, just as those with money," an inherited kind of money, by the way, "were allowed to do. The king ordered them to add to the opera house so that all of D'ni could hear the skills of song of the people, just as those with money, this time an earned kind of money, were allowed to do. The king ordered them to add to the district of Bellari so that the area started by King Rakuri might not fall into disrepair, but be treated as all other areas of the city, and that all of D'ni might live in prosperity just as those with money, both earned and inherited, were allowed to do." Note that there are several words for money implied in that paragraph. We don't know any of them, but at the very least there seems to have been a distinction between money you earned for yourself and money you inherited. The translator's notes for the notebook say that there were more than that, though. The quote is, "Some trouble spots here. Seems there were a few different kinds of money words. Might need help with those, as well with the whole place thing." King Emmon's notebook mentions that he sold islands to those wealthy enough to afford them. The popularity of Farish's mansion caused others, mainly the elite, to request permission to build on the many islands that surrounded the city proper. In 1595, Emmon decided to sell many of the islands that up to that point had been government property. Records indicate the sale of over 23 of the islands in 1 year to private citizens who could afford the heavy price tag. There are notes about money in several ages. There's an age called Purane, which was an age owned by the Guild of Artists, and mentions that they sold their paintings. Eventually, a secret market developed among those in the know, in which link paintings could be commissioned at very high prices. The fact that the works were painted by known master artists accounted for their value to those unaware of their special properties. The symbol found on the paintings became a mark of exclusiveness available only to the highest-ranking members of Denis society. Notes about the age of Datamne had more specific information about money in Denis. In that age, sled pilots called runners were paid for their work. The runners earned Nuri, which is the name of the base unit of currency in Denis. We don't know if there were any other names or denominations of coins or currency, so I can't tell you whether or not it was the only form. In other words, it could be that Nuri were the only unit of currency in Japan, the same way that the yen is the only currency of a unit of currency in Japan. We also know that guilds tax their members from the notes because it's mentioned that guild runners had guild taxes deducted from their pay. Payment was not in coins, though. Coins can rapidly become heavy and cumbersome to carry around if you have a large quantity. On the surface, a solution to that was paper money, and later electronic transfers by means of debit and credit cards. The Denis didn't have paper money. Instead, they used a uniquely Denis solution. When Denis workers were paid, it was a transfer of funds to their pradnuriti, which loosely translates as money stones. Money stones are the Denis version of smarter debit cards. A more literal way to translate the name might be rock dollars, or whatever it is that your currency might be. More information about them is going to follow. However, in Kadish Telesa, along with the King Nagan notebook, there are examples that the wealthy could commission private vaults or write ages to store their wealth. The word Telesa literally translates as sealed place, but it means a vault in the sense of a protected storage place. Ex-guildmaster Kadish was a very successful and wealthy member of the Guild of Writers, and personally wrote Telesa as a secure facility for his fortune. In the vault the age was named for, he has heaps of golden coins whose value is not mentioned, valuable arts, textiles, ceramics, and antique weapons and armor. With two examples such as those, it isn't far-fetched that other extremely wealthy families might have done the same and built their own private vaults. Now we're going to talk a little bit about pradnuriti. Saying that pradnuriti were the Denis equivalent of debit cards is a simplistic way of describing them. They weren't really the same because they were themselves a form of money. Each pradnuri had a set monetary value and so were a form of physical money, but the number of nuriti the stone was worth could be changed. Transferring funds added to and deducted from the value of the stone. Since the Denis were highly adept at manipulating stone, their currency made use of that. Most transactions were conducted by a machine one might think of as the Denis version of an automated teller machine. The transaction required two money stones, one to deduct value from and one to add it to. The stones were placed in the machine, and it altered their values to reflect the amount that was being transferred from one to the other. The denies also had a means of transferring value from one card to another at a distance. Dr. Watson said that as far as he remembers, it involves some form of neutrino technology that could travel through the rock of the caverns. He went on to say that while he doesn't remember any details, there may have been security features that prevented forgery or using stolen money stones. These features were evidently something that could be voluntarily altered by hand, since a money stone could be tendered as payment for purchases or to change ownership when given to another individual. Another thing is that there was a Denis Guild of Bankers. Another point Watson mentioned is that in an advanced society, a person might not want to carry all of his or her money all the time. As mentioned earlier, very wealthy people might own private vaults and either write or commission entire ages where the vault could be kept away from potential thieves. But that kind of investment was well beyond what the average Denis could afford. Instead, the Denis had a public banking system. The banks were operated by the Guild of Bankers, which was a minor guild. Presumably, one of the main services the banks offered was the rental of safe storage boxes and full-size vaults to individuals, businesses, and families in which nutty coins, money stones, and other valuables could be stored. Another services the banks may have offered was to sell money stones or convert them into nutty coins. In practice, this meant that the average Denis would store the majority of his wealth in a bank, and the bank would issue a stone or stones to him that had smaller values for daily transactions. We don't know what other services the Guild of Bankers offered, but the idea of loaning money for interest payments, in return for interest payments, seems like an obvious thing for them to have done. And that pretty much concludes everything that we have for today. So, did I miss any questions?
One by Shiloh Bryan, who says, just how was the value altered? Change destiny, radiation, neurotonals?
And the answer to that is we don't know. When I spoke to Watson about it, he did not remember the details. He just remembered that it could be done. And he did say that, of course, that he believed that it was done by some form of neutrino technology.
Okay. So I want to thank everyone for coming on this Cavern Tours. I want to thank Larry, our historian, and Arte. He couldn't be here. And me and Susan being your co-host, and Mirfak and Microbot for being our technical bots to get to places to show you all these items. Our next Cavern Tour is May 27th at 11 key time. Before you go, Larry, would you like to mention upcoming events that's happening in the Cavern today?
If you look at the stream, thanks courtesy of Minnesunda, who makes these, we have the events of the day. The story nights were, of course, canceled because Arte is traveling this weekend. But later today, we have two other events. At 1400 key time, there's an event called Classical Favorites in Eternabry. And the music is going to be at urtunes.com/ducky. And then, of course, we have the regular karaoke event in the New Messengers Pub at 1600 key time. And if there are no other questions, then that's it for the day, and I will see you all next month, I hope.
All right. See y'all.
Oh, by the way, if you missed anything, remember that on my YouTube channel, we do have a recording of this tour. Okay. And bye-bye.